on Elevation Radio.
God bless you. This is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, the Music Man Turner, and we're so glad you took the journey with us. This is the program that spotlights positive people doing positive work while serving a positive God whose name is Jesus. And on that note, everybody ought to clap their hands. Yes, indeed. Listen, our subject matter today is urban abortions. Urban abortions. Who has the right to choose? America is divided over abortion. Pro-life advocates say that that the inception of pregnancy signifies life. Pro-choice advocates say that an embryo is not a person, and unless the fetus can survive 22 to 24 weeks outside the womb, it is not alive. Why, however, are most abortion clinics located in the urban city? That means the hood, the ghetto. Why are most of the clientele poor minorities? Is this a strategic plan to exterminate the black race by population control? If so, why is this concept allowed to exist in these Americas? Lord have mercy. For that, before we get into this, I want to say that this is the March 10th is the 10th or the 7th anniversary of our church, which is actually the sponsor of this program, Destiny Changers Deliverance Center, which started in 2013, and it's been 7 years of giving God the glory, and we just want to thank God for helping us to survive and to help as many people as we can, not with brick and mortar, but now with the podcast, and that's great. Now we're going over to our verse, none other than my lovely wife, the First Lady, Leora Turner.
Yes, hello. For God doeth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as good, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat.
My goodness, and the world will be the same. So, I'm going to thank you for that, sweetheart. We are going to get into, no problem. We're going to get into this subject matter. What is an abortion? It is potential killing of the undeveloped embryo or fetus. That's what it is. And it's a Latin term, AB, which means to be born. The word means to be born, but the action is to kill the fetus embryo so that it can't be born. Isn't that incredible? And the other term for abortion, it means off the mark. I mean, you're missing something. You didn't hit the bullseye. And that's the belief that when you don't have the child, you're missing something. Oh, my goodness. Listen, if you have an opinion, if you've had an abortion, if you've been the victim where a woman has had an abortion and didn't tell you about it, father intended, how did you feel about it? 1-914-205-5353. 1-914-205-5353. I found out that you can actually register to get an abortion and get a plan. My goodness. It can be done in 60 minutes or less. Were you aware of that? And let's see here, in the first trimester, the candidate actually had to be pregnant between 5 and 14 weeks. And one fertility clinic states, it boils down to that they will bring them in alone. You can't bring anybody with you. You'll be greeted by female staff. No males allowed. You put a star beside that, a pin. No males allowed inside the fertility clinic. That clinic is normally, well, there's so many now, and they will get a sonogram performed to verify the gestation age of the intended embryo or fetus. Well, at this point, embryo. They're trying to determine the Rh factor, which is basically the inherited protein on the surface of the red blood cells. And they will eventually give them a RHO gem injection. That procedure takes about 30 to 45 minutes. They will also give them at some point in the midst of all this medication to help loosen the cervix. And that's the medication is Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
So you get high while you're trying to get this procedure done. Well, I saw a video of this thing and had a video to market it, and there was nurse clinics all over. But this one video had a theme, and it says, "I choose," with a variety of women to do what they want to do, and to control whatever life they want to have, because it's their life first above anything else. Isn't that amazing? And so they decided they don't want what they have laid down to get, and that is a child, a gift from God. Well, in Jeremiah, it says 11:4 and 5. We're trying to ask who has the right to choose. It's God says, "Before I formed you," it was talking to his servant Jeremiah. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you." Isn't that amazing? That God has knowledge of us before we become embryos and fetuses, before the father knew what he was doing, the gleam in his eye, looking at the mother. But the woman has the right to choose, not God. Oh my goodness. All right, well, I'm starting on. So where did this process come from? Where you have the commercial extermination, making money, profiting from the termination of pregnancy. Where does the idea come from? And when we think about this in the urban setting of the city municipalities, we think of Planned Parenthood. Yes, we do. We do Planned Parenthood, and we wonder, where did it come from? It says here that it was actually the brainchild of one Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger and her sister and another lady named Fania Mendel began to put that in place in New York City in 1916. Amazing. And it's now a springboard all the way up to be political powerhouse. And there's actually an international Planned Parenthood located in London, England. So they're now international. But the question is they specialize in reproductive health care. And so we want to look into the background of the CEO who founded it and see what she was made of. Margaret Sanger came from a family of Irish immigrants, which means they weren't even born here, bringing their stuff over here to America. She studied nursing, and she actually pursued what was she named reproductive justice, because she saw another young woman get a defective, dysfunctional abortion, and she made it her business to change that. she actually produced a method of again at the first control center in October of 1916, and it was closed 9 days later for violations of the Comstock law, which stated that abortions were obscene and illegal. And many feel that way today, that abortions are obscene and illegal. And if you feel that way, whoever you are, if you just don't like the word abortion, you like what it means, what it stands for, what they do, call us at 1-914-205-5353. If you're a pro-lifer, give us a call. That's not a problem. Says she was arrested and spent jail time, so she was a convict for starting this birth control at that time. Well, you would think that perhaps maybe she would, straighten up and fly right, but no. But when she came out from jail with the stripes on, she began to start pursuing her illicit work and started another organization called the Birth Control League of America. Can you believe that? Which eventually morphed into Planned Parenthood in 1942, and began to offer other services out. And as the 60s came about, the pill, the morning after pill, sung by Loretta Lynn, country singer, intrauterine devices, and legal abortion. She believed that enforced motherhood was something that, as she wrote in 1914, was basically the most complete denial of a woman's right to life. A woman's right to life. Not the child, the woman. And it says here that, according to Jennifer Hudson of Time magazine, that's what she said. That's a quote. Sanger supported something called the eugenics movement. Do you know what that means, sweetheart? Okay, let me tell you. It is the selective breeding to limit and discourage the overfertility of the mentally disturbed and physically defective. What she's saying is that it's a Nazi concept in Germany that we're going to ethnic cleanse. We're going to stop the overpopulation of those who we feel are not as worthy to life as we are. And so that's a God concept. That's a God concept. And so she basically assumed the role, and those who followed that, which is a widely popular movement, of playing God. Let me say here, racism is a God complex gone wild, where the race believes that they are superior to anyone else, and the others don't have a right to live, or they should live at their feet. Yeah. And according to another Time magazine article, you might surprise you, but the revered and the renowned and the iconic Dr. Martin Luther King agreed that Margaret Sanger, made contributions to the black community. I don't know where he was thinking about when he accepted the Planned Parenthood Margaret Sanger Award in Human Rights. I don't know. Many people are not aware of that. Well, let's dig a little deeper here, because we're just trying to figure out what's happening with this situation here. This particular woman was allowed to foster and live. It says Sanger's father was a free thinker. He wasn't hemmed up by traditions and borders and rules and regulations. That's where she got her cues from. He was also an anti-Catholic. And in 1899, that's where he began. And her mother contracted tuberculosis during pregnancy and died in motherhood.
Oh, wow.
Sanger also, when she became pregnant with her son Grant, got tuberculosis as well. And she said that the experience was one of total agony. You begin to see a foundation here, right? Pregnancy is not looked upon as something promising because her mother died and she herself had tuberculosis and experienced total agony in trying to birth out her son. So, someone says, her people. Yeah. Let's hear. Actually, looking at the rules and the promises of the more, it said to the mother that you have the right to have all records, medical records, remain confidential, which means, translation to the father, men, that you have no business knowing what the woman has decided. The clinic is going to make sure that the record stays confidential. So you're not going to know if you're the father, if Joe Blow is the father, you're not going to know anything at all. And if you go there to ask a question, they were not going to tell you a thing. You are locked out. Yeah. It says here that you have the right to receive care free from abuse. So if you're in an abusive situation, you're going to receive care, and you're going to do it, and you're going to be in a position of safety, and nothing wrong with that, being in safety. It says here that your decisions about your care, you can participate in them, including the right to refuse. You have the right to refuse to go ahead with terminating the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you cannot say that you didn't have an opportunity. Now, if we go into the second trimester, 19 to 22 weeks, becomes a little bit more serious. This is a 2-day process. Did you know that?
Yes.
2-day process for an abortion. And so this is where they dilate and looks like you extractate through a vacuum the baby, the embryo. At this point, it's the fetus because this is grown. And so they will also, at the end, use surgical instruments such as forceps to remove the leftovers that the vacuum did not pull out. And on the first day, you receive medication. My stone, a medication that says stops the growth of the fetus, and it softens and dilates the cervix. So if you note here, if you and it is alive. And on the second day, that the use of the vacuum, specially designed forceps, to further remove, says here, for the removal of the. So it's not a baby, it's not a fetus, it's not an embryo, because I want to feel good about it. I don't want to feel guilty. We will just now call it the product of pregnancy. It's a corporate term. This is just business as usual. And so in an article that's called The Last Why, it says here that we're trying to figure out, well, what gives the woman the right to make the choice that the man could not be included in, that the father could not be included in. And in some cases, there are some weak men who have tried to tell the woman that I don't want the baby, so why don't you have an abortion? I'll pay for it. What kind of man says this to end a life that he has produced? What kind of love is this? He's definitely going to love you. My God. And so, decisions have to be made. But if we go back on the issue of giving the mother, the woman, the total choice of her right to choose, well, where did that come from? Who said that? And I have to ask that question because the woman doesn't have the ability to generate life in that respect. It comes from the man. It comes from his spermatozoa. Yes. All you have is eggs sitting there like eggs on a rack of grocery store. Just eggs waiting to be fertilized. And so without that, you just sit there going to old age, not being able to actually have a child. So why can't the man who ingested life have a say in the process? Why do you have the right to choose? You know what? The child, I told someone before, and found out on a phone call that the person had an abortion. I said, why would you do that? Why didn't you call me and ask me? You know what? The child, I would have taken the child and raised the child. Who do you think you are? You're not God. And so it says here that according to an article, it's called The Last Why, it says here that 1914-205-5353. We're going to eat now. And the article says in The Last Why, it says, our Mother Nature planned our life. She made the choice to let us grow. Which means all life is done and orchestrated and controlled and held by Mother Nature. She, a woman, controls everything. And there are some women who would say that we control it all. The Me Too movement is an extension of the women's movement in the modern term. Oh my goodness. And according to answers.yahoo.com, they have said here that killing pregnant women was approved in the Bible. And they use Genesis 24. I know it's a surprise to you. They include Numbers 31:7, and they talk about this in that respect. However, in further review of that scripture and chapters, I have found that they were in error. They were wrong. Let me just say that they misinterpreted. They lied, okay, because when the killing was going on, the older males were killed, but the little ones were spared. People twist things around to get what they want to get out of it. And so it says here also that that the process of a person is being born becomes a living soul when they breathe the breath of life. And so fetuses don't breathe. That's what the pro-choice says. And they use Genesis chapter 7, verse 16. However, the Bible says that God gave the breath of life. And that is what he's talking about. And even before he said Jeremiah was breathing, he knew him. So that's just not real. And that's good to know. Yes, indeed. It says here that when Noah went into the ark and he was commanded to bring in all flesh, he was commanded to bring in male and female so that they could actually procreate. God is about procreation. He is about birthing. He's about creating new things. He's a God. That's why we call him the Creator. And so he is not into termination of life only if there is some type of, if say if the nation of Israel was put upon by the Assyrians, and they were brutalized by them. After he allowed them to be held captive, he would turn on them and actually be captor and actually do certain things to them in that respect. However, he is a God that creates life and loves life. Moving on, but he's the only guy we know, and the only guy that's capable of making these kind of decisions. Or is he? Who has the right to choose? Well, let's talk about Mother Nature. And so the concept was purported by Aristotle. He believed in goddesses, because that's what you were saying in Genesis chapter 3. Instead of talking to Adam, in the image of God, he was actually disrespecting Adam because he hates God and he hates man who was made in the image of God. So he talked to the woman, the helpmeet, first, and she regurgitated what Adam instructed her because he got it from God. Yeah. But what she should have said is, well, Adam, should I talk to him? Adam, should I converse with him? Adam, should we even be here having this conversation at all? My husband. Matter of fact, why don't you go talk to him? Because I don't know him. I don't know him like that. But no, she engaged in conversation. Why is that? She was enthralled. She was enticed. She was intrigued. He had something that she liked. He was talking her language. Yeah. And he presented to her the possibility of being a god just like God. She wanted a goddess so she could know good and evil. And it says she went into action. She saw, she took, she gave. And the problem we have today is that when they still give, and we don't lead and guide because by the authority of God, the man, the husband, then we have problems because she's looking at it from a sensual objective. It's physically fine. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to be cool. I want to have all my bills paid. I want to have this is not faith. Comfort and faith do not go together. And that's why you have most of the problems here. And so it says here that Aristotle, the great philosopher from Greece, believed in goddesses. Yeah. Greek mythology. It says that she heals, mothers, and supports all life on this planet. And I tell you, they're still talking about it today. It says the way of mother. In an old term translation, the word for mother is called Gaila, Gaila, and is the passive form, the way of healing. And so if you look further back into time, into history, it's called Ma-Ga, M-A-G-A, which also is known as Mother Earth. Oh my goodness. Nature is personified as a woman. Oh my goodness. So consider the source and guiding force of creation, which move over God, move over the Elohim, move over Adonai, because my guy is the force that even God himself, according to this term, must bow to. Could you imagine? Ancient Egypt, if you go a little further, it says here that the term it was used is called Geb, which means G-E-B, male, and that Gebet was female. And so when you say another term for the male is a.k.a. Gaga, G-A-G-A, and that's sometimes we teach out. Gala is that term of Gebet. And so, and the Magai actually is going so far back in ancient Greece to the 1500s. And so you're saying, where is he going with all this? What is he trying to say? Well, if you ever have been in a Planned Parenthood or women's movement, Gloria Steinem and Helen Reddy and singing "It's My Choice, It's About Me," and I make the rules. I'm strong. I am woman. Yeah. I want you to know that the king of the jungle, the lion, does not hunt for his food. He allows and he waits and sits back and lets the pride. What is the pride? The pride is the female lionesses. They go out and they hunt for him. And if you see them coming, you know that your time has expired. They are the predators. Oh, my goodness. Am I getting in trouble here today? 1-904-205-5353. I wondered to myself, I said, self, how many female goddesses are there? And I found out that there were 197 female goddesses. Good God Almighty. And some of their names you've heard before. Aphrodite of, let's see here, Artemis, goddess of the wilderness. Athena, goddess of wisdom. Aura, when you say it's got a nice aura, you're really saying that she is the divine parental or personal goddess of the breeze. When you say Aurora, you're saying the goddess of Avalon. If you say Avalon, I want to move to the Avalon apartments, you're saying that it means apple. Good God Almighty. And so Luna, the goddess of the moon. Ishtar, goddess of fertility. And they call their clinics what? Fertility clinics. Good God Almighty. Ishtar. And so you've got Iris, it means goddess, the messenger of the gods. Oh my goodness. And so you've got even canola, where you say is the canola oil. No, it's actually the Irish goddess. We're using goddesses all around our environment, in our homes, in the commercials. There was a commercial where a woman was going through and it said, release the goddess in you. Woo. All I know is that there is only absolutely one God. Only one God.
Yes,
but here's the other problem, is why are our elected leaders, why are our officials who look like us, blackanese, allowing clinics that will kill our children, that will stop our future? We're already unlimited in the census. We're already limited we have more of us in prison what was being murdered. The fear of having more black children walking around the earth because they are a reflection of the kings of Egypt, the kings of Africa. Fear is loose in the land to limit them from actually growing and multiplying. And that's a problem for those who are Anglo-Saxon and European to allow us to reclaim our position as dominance and running and ruling the earth as we have been from old biblical times. Because, I'm going to upset some people today, Christ himself has said he had hair like wool and feet like bronze, brass. And so it means that he was a black man. You couldn't live in that area and not have huge skin. So that's important to know, that we never deny our heritage, that we never assume and assimilate to deny our generations. That's important to know. And so Margaret Sanger, one white woman, one demented, wounded, hurt, distorted, demonic woman was given the right to destroy, and actually in 1960, just the whole generation of that era, killed 20 million black youth. 20 million babies have been destroyed by this sick organization that has no right to do anything but get off the planet. And we allow our daughters to go down there, and they sneak up in there and actually are welcomed to end the future of the life that God has given. I don't know. Now, if I go out and murder someone, then I'll be arrested for murder. But you say, or they say, that the life, if they can't breathe outside the body, is not really alive, but you give medication to stop the growth. So therefore, you're lying. How are they not arrested? And they have a poll in the White House. They have a poll in the Senate, Congress. These are nothing but social killers, serial killers. Where is Jesse Jackson was supporting Joe Biden? Where I didn't hear him actually talk about the Rainbow Coalition, talking about this situation. Where are all the preachers talking about this situation? And that's another thing Margaret Sanger liked to use when she didn't want everybody to know what her motive was. She was trying to get a message to the ministers because she said the ministers control things. She knew that, and she was trying to use the ministers to get her plan together. And she was probably going to pay them off. And you know, really, in some cases, if you pay them, you can get what you want. Some folks have found out. Mayors have found out when they have prayer breakfasts that they can invite the pastors and they can get them into some buildings, allow them to get the permits to build and look the other way and do some things that they will jump, they will kowtow, they will bow down to do whatever is being asked. This is a sellout of the black community. You're supposed to be on the front line making sure that nothing goes down. I can't trust a politician, but I should be able to trust the pastor of the black community who is supposed to be embedded and invested in our children, invested in the future. Nothing worse than pedophilia in that respect, nothing worse than serial killing of the future of our civilization. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm talking too much. So, what is your opinion, First Lady?
If what?
Okay. I think that the problem we have is that there's too much power given to the mother. We embrace this concept way too much to the news media, Mother Nature, to talk shows, to the Me Too movement. It's just too much. It's got to be a balance, and if you can't have the balance, the structure of the balance goes something like this: it is God, number one. It then is the husband, and then it is the children. Come on now. And so that is what God has said. And so if God has said it, that's what He recognizes. Then anything else is an abomination. So let me go a little further.
Well, I agree.
Abortions to me are, and that's my opinion. Here's what I found out, though, when on the website it said that abortions are not mentioned in the Bible. And I was stunned by that, and I went a little further, and I went on a Bible website, and I did a little research and found out that that's absolutely correct. It is not mentioned in the Bible.
Okay.
So the question is, why would God leave it out? Jesus, who walked the earth, why would He not talk about it?
We don't know why.
Yeah.
We don't know why. The thing is,
yeah.
I was saying we don't know why He would leave it out, but I know we're not supposed to question Him. You know. I just feel that's something that we need just to get on our knees and just pray about. You know, because we have thoughts and you know, we have our own thoughts of thinking of all these things. So we want answers as well.
Well, here's the situation. Can you hear my now? Okay, my mama had me outside of wedlock. I was born in 1970. 1962, in an age where it was unprofitable to be pregnant without being married. She had a choice to make. Lord have mercy. She had a choice to make, and she decided, because of her upbringing, because of her belief and her thankfulness to God, because all children, fetuses and embryos and babies and toddlers, if you leave alone, will eventually grow up to be adults. Thank you, Jesus. And she believed that God had given her a gift. And she was determined that although I made a mistake, that I am not going to erase the mistake. I'm going to do what's necessary to be done. And if you strengthen my hands, God, I will give this child back to you. An example of some biblical women who found themselves pregnant and gave the child, Samuel, the prophet, back to God. And so if God, it's just like you wouldn't take a Ford motor vehicle and take it to a Chevy dealer to get it fixed. So you didn't produce the child and come down your tubes in the womb, that you didn't do it. So it had to come from another source. So it had to come from a higher source. It came from God. So if God decided that you should have it, that you should be pregnant, then here's what you should do. Not try to be a goddess. You should then get on your knees and ask God, what are you trying to do? What blessings are you trying to give me? I'm being favored because I don't know what I'm going to produce. I don't know if he's going to be the president of these United States, if he's going to be a scientist, if he's going to be the leagues, another Kobe Bryant. I don't know what he is, she is, but I thank you, and I want you to help me raise this child. That's what you do if you're a real woman. If you ain't a wimp, if you ain't got no weak ovaries, you allow God to do what he is trying to do in you. He's trying to bless the earth through you. It is not to be ashamed of. It's something to be honored. Like Mary, who am I that you were going to bless me? And through her came, because she wasn't married either. She was pregnant without a boo. She was pregnant without a husband. And look what happened to her. Her name is down in the annals of time because she birthed out Jesus the Christ.
The Christ.
Oh, my goodness. Right. And if you would just stop living on yourself and stop being a goddess, you would let God, the real God, go through you and give you the blessings of what he is trying to do to you, what he's trying to do for you, how he's trying to bless the earth through you. You don't even know. And if you have committed an abortion, if you have done it, and ask God to forgive you and move on from there. But if you, for those who are about to do it, don't do it. Let God have his way. Let God control your life. Let God bless you as he's trying to bless you. Don't abort the baby. Don't abort the fetus. Don't abort the embryo.
Amen.
Be a mama, for real. Be a godly mother. How about that? How about that? Try that on for size. And God will bless you. He will watch out for you because he won't let you fail. Because he loves the kids. He will make a way for you. I know he will because I'm a product of that. He will provide food for you. He will provide shelter for you. He will pay your rent. God will do it. Don't you worry about the man. God will do it for you. I know he will. Yes, sir. Well, we thank you. This has been another Elevation Radio moment. Again, this is the anniversary, the 7th anniversary of Destiny Changers Deliverance Center. Oh my goodness! Church without walls, a church without walls, trying to help as many people. And God, thank you. Listen, wife, I love you. Thank you for being by my side. Thank you for holding my hands up. Without you holding my hands up, I couldn't defeat the enemy. This is the hardest program I've ever done. This is the 4th time I've tried to put this program out on air. The devil didn't want me to do it. God wanted me to deliver those who are worth delivering. In Jesus' name, we say amen.
you.